Content can be as simple as a PowerPoint slide showing announcements or as complex as a looping 3D animation, but there are techniques that make the simplest graphics look professional on a display. Your new system will come preloaded with some basic content, but in this tutorial, we'll go over some tips for creating content yourself. If you do want something that may be outside of your design skill set, you can check Daktronics.com and navigate to our Creative Services section. Here, you'll find even more catalog content that may be available. Daktronics currently provides several sport animation packages for use by schools and sports facilities with message and video displays. These packages are divided by sport and include track, aquatics, football, basketball, baseball, volleyball, wrestling, and hockey. Some animations are sport-specific like home run or touchdown, while general crowd prompts like make some noise are also available. Additional content such as animations of team mascots is a great way to show your team spirit. Showcase your athletes by displaying player headshots next to their individual statistics. And gain that home field or home court advantage by playing customized crowd prompts and interactive game animations. For creative sports content, from opening animations and crowd prompts to player bios and sponsor animations, Daktronics Creative Services is equipped to provide you with a solution. We specialize in producing digital content in high definition and other numerous styles of display, including LED video displays, ribbon boards, and LCD displays used in stadiums and arenas across the country. The digital content we're referring to is usually created in outside programs such as Adobe After Effects or Adobe Photoshop. Content can also be created in your TriCaster or inside Daktronics' Content Studio. You will need a program that will allow you to output different file formats as well as different canvas sizes depending on how many displays you have. One of the most important things when building content is to know what size to build that content. You will need to know what your board sizes are in pixel dimensions and how you intend on getting the content to those video boards. When creating content to play from the show control system, you will need to create your content the size of the board that is being displayed on. You will need to know the exact pixel dimensions of that display. If you're creating it for a video playback device, you will need to build it for that machine's display resolution. For example, if you're creating content for playback on a standard definition TriCaster, you will need to build the content at 720 by 486. The first technique we'll go over will involve backgrounds. It'll be a good idea to not use backgrounds that are too distracting that will take away from the text or logo in the foreground. You'll also want to stay away from using pure white backgrounds. This can wash out text and logos. Use heavy contrast with your text and background so it'll be easy to read from anywhere in your arena. Try to stay away from text in the background that may stay away from the text in the foreground. You can make adjustments to the background and foreground to make your elements look natural. Try using bevels, gradients, and shapes to make everything look more seamless. Other things to think about are that dark backgrounds allow logos to capture a viewer's attention and can have a simple, clean look. Bright and saturated colors work better than pastel colors or low contrast colors. In this example, we have two different pieces of content. On the left side, we have a graphic that has a light colored background and white text, making this impossible to read on any type of screen. On the right side, we've got a dark colored background with white text using drop shadows and gradients. This allows your graphic to be easy to read, it's bold, and it gets your messages across. When dealing with your text, you want to make sure you use a font that's simple, bold, and easy to read. Fonts like Arial, Myriad Pro, Rockwell, and Impact are commonly used fonts. You can also feel free to use a school font or a team font in your messages. Make sure you can make your text as big as you can without going outside your title-safe areas. This title-safe area is usually laid out in your editing software or in your TriCaster or show control computer. If your text is getting lost in the background, you can separate that text from the background by using strokes and drop shadows. This will allow your text to have a subtle separation between your background and foreground. And make sure you spell check all of your content. There's nothing worse than a misspelled word up in the bright lights of your LED display. Once you have your content looking good on your computer screen, save it out and take a look at it on the video boards. Things can look a lot different on a computer screen, but once you have it on the board, you still may need to make adjustments. If you're loading new content, make sure that content is loaded and approved as early as possible to have it ready for your event. Here's an example dealing with text and fonts. On the right side, we're using a font that's very thin and hard to read inside that yellow background. Although it has high contrast, it's a font that's a little too complex for an LED video board. But on the right side, we've changed the font, we've made it a lot bolder and simpler and easy to read. Sometimes the most simplest fonts can get your message across better than anything else. In this example, we're using stats and real-time data to inform our audience of our team's progress. Your Daktronics system, paired with a statistics software, can integrate fully and provide your audience with real-time data that's constantly updating. This can further enhance your production. Again, this text has high contrast on a dark blue background with lighter text. It's bold and easy to read. This is a simple example of showing a general overview of team statistics. However, you can get more advanced by showing individual statistics with player headshots. Previously, we've been talking just about text and making sure your text is readable and your audience is able to comprehend it. In this example, we're using a logo. Logos come from all different types of sources, whether it's a sponsor or an athletic team. And the one thing with your logo is to make sure that it's sized properly and sized large enough to be comprehended by your audience. When you're sizing that logo, you don't want to distort it, especially if it's a sponsor logo and they're paying money to have their logo displayed on their display. They'll be the first to notice that their logo has been tampered with and distorted. So on the left side, we have filled our screen completely with this logo. However, it's distorted left and right and top to bottom. Now on the right side, the logo may not be as big, but it is sized properly and well proportioned. One important principle for creating effective content for your LED display is the visual prioritization of your message. Your audience and consumers can only read and comprehend so much information at a given time. Therefore, when you have a message you want to get across, define the number of items you want to communicate and prioritize each. Make sure any motion or animation doesn't get in the way of that message. And if you do have animation in your piece of content, make sure that message holds long enough for your viewers to read and comprehend what's on your display. Here are a few LED tips and tricks for creating your content. Remember, your viewer must be able to see the artwork, scan for details, and make assessments of the data you're showing. Animated content may only have a few seconds to capture the viewer's attention. When dealing with logos, like we said before, always keep the original aspect ratio when resizing those logos to fit your display. When creating sponsored elements, make sure you have the most up-to-date sponsor logo. When you request a logo from a sponsor, always request a high-resolution image. If one is not available, try searching the internet, but make sure it's the most up-to-date logo for that sponsor. A useful website is www.brandsoftheworld.com. It's a great resource for high-resolution logos. As a review for backgrounds, vivid, high-quality logos, images, and text should appear in front of a contrasting background. When possible, use dark and rich colors. Predominantly white backgrounds should be avoided as they tend to be too bright and wash out accompanying logos, images, and messages. With digital advertising, using multiple overlapping layers and three-dimensional logos if possible, add depth and interest to your content. When you're creating sport content, be sure to use dynamic data or real-time data to display stats and scores like we saw in the example before. You can also make use of what's called a bitmap RTD to quickly trigger headshots and logos and accompany those with stats. Another tool to keep handy is a small thumb drive ranging from 4 to 8 gigabytes in size. This is the fastest way to transfer content onto your players. It's also easy to transport, and it's always nice to have a backup. When saving out your content to be played on your display, there are dozens of different file formats to choose from.